Männer, es war ein langer Krieg. Es war ein tapfer Krieg. Ihr habt tapfer und stolz für euer Vaterland gekämpft. Seid eine besondere Truppe, die ineinander einen...
Hey everyone, Hydra Head here, and we're going to cover Monstress. So I actually wasn't planning on reviewing this. A lot of people seem to really be big fans of it. I just wasn't going to weigh in on it. But I grabbed the wrong comic leaving the house, so we're reviewing Monstress today. This is by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda, or Takeda. I'm bad at pronouncing foreign names, sorry. But Sana is a fantastic artist. She does all the penciling, inking, coloring. I think the coloring. Pretty sure she did the coloring too. Well, we'll get to that. I'm pretty sure she did the coloring as well. So when I got this, I don't really follow Image too much, but I just saw Monstress, the sweet picture, and I figured it was the start of a new series. But yet again, I was taken. This is actually issue 14. This is not a jump on point. I would suggest reading, catching yourself up on this before jumping into it. I mean, I kind of understand what's going on, but there's a lot of stuff they don't really cover back on. And this is very, very in-depth story going on here. Not like complex in-depth. There's just a lot of people that look kind of similar, a lot of stuff happening. It's very much a swords and sorcery style politics. I would say the political spectrum is kind of similar to like the Codex Alera. I don't want to use Game of Thrones as an example, just because it's kind of a shitty example for something that's actually quality. Because it's not loaded down with sex and nonsense. This is actually much more political. Yeah, I'd say Codex Alera is a good example, but I don't know how many of you have actually read that. Recommend it if you haven't. Anyway, let's just go ahead and jump in. I'm definitely not going to be reading this whole thing. I don't think I have to worry about spoilers because there's so much going on. But look at this opening page. She's hot. She's got this dog. One thing that I notice about her art is on all the spots where there should just be like bland, flat, she always does these like lines of texture. And they're all over, like even on the backgrounds. So I don't know if maybe that was just, it's fill in because of when she's penciling and then the colors bring it all together. I don't know, but like everything has these dang lines. So this kind of catches you up on what's going on. Yep. And here's all the players. Let's go ahead and just read this exciting intro. On the Isle of Bones, Micah finally learned a key detail about her mysterious past. Her mother, Moriko, deliberately conceived Micah with an eye-marked descendant of the Shaman Empress so that Micah could inherit the Shaman Empress's power and the monstrum that now lives beneath her skin. Zin is the monstrum, by the way. After the monstrum Zin devoured the crew of a Therian ship that had tried to apprehend Micah, I'm going to call her Micah, and her friends, Micah's allies helped find her temporary shelter in the refugee camp of Tearshed in the waters outside Pontus, a city run by Indentites who believe the peaceful coexistence of humans and Arcanics. Blah, 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 blah. These are our players. We got Micah, our main character. She's kind of cute. Looks like most dark-haired women in this book. We got Zin. He is a god who is now immortal. He's basically trying to take her over. We got Rin, who is a necromancer. Yep, necromancer. We got Keepa, an arcanic fox. And Destria, the mother superior of the Kumean order and supposed creator of the Inquisitrixes. And in case you're wondering, Inquisitrixes are indeed Inquisitor dominatrixes. I know, it's original, it's neat, it's unique. Whoever would have thought? She's actually a god. She is related to Zin. They refer to Zin as their sister brother or it. I believe Zin is supposed to be asexual or possibly even some sort of like futa trans thing, but He's just a monster who used to be immortal, but after being respawned is apparently mortal, yet still stronger. Here we basically find out that Zen was brought back to life. We learn about the half-wolf, which is what they call Micah. I mean, so it doesn't start off too boring. The dialogue kind of gets you in because of what they're talking about. The art is absolutely fantastic. She does beautiful women. Kind of has this anime style with a little bit of realism to it. Really, really, really nice artwork. I'd like to see her on more stuff. Yeah. Story-wise, they basically just are covering what happened in, I assume, the last couple books. They start to harass this old guy, but then something happens and they both freak out. And then we see old Dagon, who is this little girl, dragging a corpse down the stairs. Apparently the guy she dragged down is called the Dreamer. They use him to tell prophecies. She did something with a mask that caused a lot of drama. You learn more about that in this. Up to this point, unless you've been reading the other books, you're not going to have any idea what's going on, but it starts to clear up a little bit in the center. We finally do get to see this Pontus that they've been talking about, and this massive, very cool looking god. They call it a god. Part of the shield wall, I believe. When they enter the city, Zen becomes extremely uncomfortable with all the arcanics and the fact that that god is basically watching him and knows he's there. Zen has a very interesting way of talking. Very short, like he has problems catching his breath. And also very... why am I blanking on this word? Very confrontational. Like you shouldn't really believe everything he's saying. He's definitely in it for his own gain. Again, fantastic art. Great setting. The coloring's nice. This town is very cool. I really like the world building. Honestly, my only problem with this is the only men are bad guys, except for this one pretty dude. But he was a bad guy who became a good guy and is now helping. Neko Cat doesn't trust him. Little Fox Girl does, though. And that's about the only guy for like 90% of this book. The only time they show another one is when, well, we'll get to that. They're very, they touch on feminism in a weird way. Like everything is very, female-centric, female-focused, and they're all very calm about it. It's not heavy-handed like you'd see in most, like in an SJW Marvel book or something. It's actually very well done. It's just there's very clear kind of agenda hidden throughout this, I think. But maybe Marjorie Liu just genuinely doesn't like writing male characters, and or maybe 14 is just one of the ones that doesn't have very many men in it, and I just have a biased outlook because of all the stuff we've been dealing with in the comics industry. All possible. But just picking this up, reading it a couple of times because it was really hard to focus on. Look, another guy. Guess what? He's a bad guy. Or close to it. We get this tricked out steampunk wheelchair. It's pretty freaking awesome. That's another thing. This chick should do, Sana Takeda, should definitely do a like full steampunk themed comic. I would actually kind of like to see John Della Rose write it and her draw it. I think that would be pretty freaking cool looking. These two run the shield wall. They act like they are friends with Micah, but quickly tell her the truth that they don't trust her. They think she's a bad person. Not a big fan of all the stuff she's done in the past, but they're really worried about other countries taking their shield wall technology, especially if they find out that it's broken. I'm not really sure why, but they want her to get in this armor because of some prophecy, And they tell her that normally you'd have to meditate for months on end before getting into it, but they just don't have that kind of time. The Micah, the half-wolf cub, she's of course strong-willed like no other female main character ever is. She thinks she knows better than everybody, and she instead just asks Zin, how do I activate the armor? Zin cracks jokes about her just climbing into the armor, and she asks, well, what about the meditation? And he just laughs at her like, I don't see you even being able to meditate. So she gets huffy, jumps in the armor. We get a lot of forced swearing. Like at the start, there was some bitch dropped, and it kind of fit in. But here, when Micah swears, it just seems really forced. What does not simply turn on the shield? Activation is a delicate process, one that requires incredible focus. Not only must the machine become accustomed to your blood, you'll need to undergo weeks of meditative training. What the fuck, old man? I could be dead by then, and you certainly will be. Okay, don't need to swear, you foul-mouthed little whore. So she gets in the armor. It, of course, is bad juju because she didn't go through all the proper steps. It awakens this fucking awesome-looking giant monster that they don't explain. I'm assuming that's Zin, just going by the speech bubbles, even though it doesn't show him getting in the armor with the girl. And then we jump to this commander. These are the two that we saw at the beginning of the film, or the beginning of the book. You can tell because of the dog, since most dark-haired women in this comic kind of look alike. Some poor banter back and forth, and then the chick who we saw earlier puts on that mask that we heard about, and apparently something to do with this old man happens. This is the other male I talked about. I'm assuming he's a bad guy because we can see him here watching, and then excellent finger steeple. The book ends, though, with this little excerpt from a lecture from the esteemed Professor Tam Tam. I'm guessing this is kind of a comedic relief, a la anime. Basically, it's just a little moral that you should always look to the past, especially if you want to tell the future. You know, knowing what happened in the past prevents the same thing from happening again in the future. But delivered by cats, because cats are the actual intelligent beings. If you guys saw the Futurama episode with the all-powerful cats, that's essentially what this world is. Yep. Just darker, more sci-fi, and some more creatures. Then we get the letter section, which I didn't read, because I'm a bad person. Next cover is going to be sick again, but I don't think I will be reading it. So yeah, art, color, everything by Takeda. Amazing. They have massive skill. I don't like Marjorie Liu's writing. Not to say she isn't a good writer. This is very well written, very in-depth story. She's clearly got chops. I'm just not a fan of what she was going for. All in all, if you've been reading it, you're clearly going to like it because you've already made it 14 issues in. If you haven't picked it up, check out the first ones first, see if you like it, then jump in. Chances are you will. A lot of people on Twitter really, really like this. The art is freaking amazing, but not my cup of tea. That's my subjective opinion. All right, Hail Hydra, baby.